Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about making money on the side, doing side gigs while working in a corporate environment, in particular in finance. Now, first of all, hedge funds don't like when you work side gigs, so let's just get that out of the way. We're going to focus on investment banks. In investment banks, it's generally okay. In fact, most have an internal website where you can report, and all you have to do is pretty much tick the boxes that it's not a conflict of interest with the company. Here's how I propose you do it, because I did it from very early stages until much later in my career. When I started in 2013 at Morgan Stanley, I was pretty much just brand new to working in finance, and I didn't want to raise a big deal about all the side things I was doing. I was tutoring, I was giving music lessons, I was playing music gigs at night, and I was just starting out this idea of putting together Script Uni. It wasn't live yet, but it was something I was toying with, and I was recording courses. For those, I didn't report anything. I thought, I'm tutoring some local kids mathematics, same thing with music lessons. None of it really made any imprint online, so nothing would be recognizable, and I'd rather not join a firm that gave me this great opportunity to make a lot of money and to start building experience. I don't want to thank them by immediately saying, oh, by the way, I'm doing a bunch of side stuff. In general, I think at the very, very early stages, your first year or so, it's best to not raise any flags and say that you're doing side stuff. About a year in, I went live with excelvbacourse.com. That was Script Uni in its early stages. It was just a VBA course that I threw together. And it was Baruch actually mentioned to me, they said, run this business for a few years. Let's see how it goes. And then we'll decide whether we want to partner with you. And ultimately, that's how I got the Script Uni partnership. So once I went live with Excel VBA course, which by the way, I think I only had like 14 or 17 students the very first year. Once I went live with it, I reported it internally. I think the way I did it was very clever, and I encourage you to do the same thing. I sat down with my manager by our weekly catch up, and his name was CS. And I said, CS, I just want to talk to you about one last final thing. I started recording videos of me teaching VBA. It's something I'm very passionate about, as you know. And I finished recording a whole bunch of videos, and I decided to throw them online and make a formal course about it. I've never reported outside businesses. I'm pretty new to working in a corporate environment entirely, but I definitely want to run, let that run on the side. It's something I'm pretty passionate about. How do you propose I go about doing it? I didn't go tell him what I was doing. I didn't aggressively say, I'm doing this here, please approve. I asked him for advice as a friend. When you do that generally throughout your life, people get a soft spot for you and they're always willing to agree. Of course, he said, Mark, that's great. We should all have our passions. Let me go speak to my manager. The second I put it in the system, it was approved. And throughout my career, as I went to State Street and then back to Morgan Stanley on the trading desk, the same thing happened. I would go to my manager. I learned from myself, like that is a formula that works. As my businesses grew, I kept doing the same thing, but at one point, they just got too big. When Script Uni was a really big system, and I was coaching, and I had tons of clients, at some point it got just too unwieldy, and I had to choose between working in a corporate environment or being an entrepreneur. But there was one final piece to the puzzle, and that's when I was on the trading desk, the manager came to me and said, Mark, it's okay. We see Script Uni, we went through the site, we're ready to approve everything. I just want to make one thing clear to you. If I ever see you on that website at work, I'm taking away these privileges. Which is fair. Like, I should not be getting paid by Morgan Stanley and doing side work. That's totally fair. And I didn't. I wasn't only thinking, oh, he's coming, let me quickly minimize the screen. I was always thinking IT has access to every website that I've ever visited, and my history's here. I don't want to ever leave a trace of that. So no doubt I never went on that website while I was working there. Of course, as I mentioned, when it got too unwieldy and I just had too much going on, I had to choose, and I chose to go down the entrepreneurial route. For yourself, I encourage you to do side gigs. I think it's healthy, it's nice. For me, the best thing about it was my corporate salary was never quite enough to pay my mortgage for my kids' school and all the other basics I needed. So I was always relying on bonus. And that's never healthy. I had a manager once told me, if you're relying on bonus, you're not getting paid enough. So these side jobs allowed me to be comfortable hearing year end, or sorry, you're getting no bonus this year. I needed to be in a financially stable situation where I was okay with that. And having these side jobs allowed me to have that level of comfort. They afforded me that level of comfort. So I encourage you to do this. As I mentioned early on, try not to make a big deal about it, but as your side gigs are growing, it's totally okay. First, go to your manager about it. And just to reiterate what I said in the beginning of this video, if you're going to work for a hedge fund, be prepared to be approved for nothing. If you work in a hedge fund or you have, and you know that they did approve side stuff, I'd love to hear about that in the comments, because all the recruiters that I've spoken to said, Mark, we have this great job for you. You're going to get paid a ton of money. They'd love someone with your experience, but you have to drop coaching, and you have to drop Script Uni, and you have to stop writing on LinkedIn. That was just a requirement for all of them. And in fact, some of the bigger hedge funds where I actually interviewed with them, and I got in front of them and I said, look, maybe I'll drop this or this, but I want to keep writing on LinkedIn. They were never okay with it. And that makes sense because these hedge funds have, billions of dollars of client money, and they're doing their own proprietary strategies. They don't want you being kind of that loose cannon running around and sharing secrets. So they need you to be as quiet as possible. I'd love to hear if you've had different experiences, but anyhow, I hope this helped, and I'll see you next week.